What's going on? Welcome to Breakaway Coverage. I'm Giancarlo Nadeau. Absolutely delighted to have Milan Dragicevic on the podcast. He's done so much for the game of hockey, especially in the province of British Columbia. Currently working with the Richmond Ravens as their director of hockey development. Milan, thanks so much for doing this. How's everything going?
Everything's going great right now. We're in summer mode right now. I'm just visiting some family here in God's country in Edmonton. Got here today, and I'm going to spend a week here and visit everybody, and then head back home and start planning for the fall.
Right on. What was life like growing up in Edmonton?
Well, hockey was a big factor for us. One of the things that we had in Edmonton compared to a lot of in the Lower Mainland is we grew up on the outdoor rinks, and we looked forward to the outdoor rinks in probably late October, early November, and skating and going out there and practicing by ourselves and being. That was our passion, was going out there and. Doesn't matter what the weather was. We just went out there and played on the outdoor rinks, and every community had an outdoor rink. And that's where I grew the passion of playing hockey and being involved in the game. And we practiced, we played games in the outdoor rinks, and just kind of grew up with watching the Oilers in the early 80s and was a fan of theirs ever since.
I wanted to ask you that. So, like I said, I had a feeling you were going to be an Oilers fan. So, how special was it to grow up during the Gretzky era?
Well, at that time, you're a young teenager, and you get the opportunity to watch some games, and they were the talk of the town. They were the talk of the NHL, especially in the mid 80s. But they all came to Edmonton, when they were like 17, 18, 19. Messier, Anderson, Fuhrer, Curry. They were all just little kids when they came, and they won a Stanley Cup 5 years after. And you kind of grow up with them because you're a young teenager. You're watching all the games, and then yeah, you have the opportunity to go to an NHL camp at 19 years old, and you see some of these legends that you grew up watching and idolizing, and then here you are skating with them, passing the puck with them, shooting the puck on Grand Pier was a pretty special thing.
Just talk to me about your hockey career, playing career. We'll start with that. Where did you play minor hockey, and then where did you end up playing junior?
Yeah, I grew up here in Edmonton. Played the North Side, and then went to the Maple Leaf Athletic Club, and then I went to Sherwood Park as a 15-year-old to play Junior A, and then went to the Regina Pats at 16 and played 4 years there from 86 to 90 in the Western Hockey League, and then had to try out with the Edmonton Oilers in 1990. Wasn't good enough, to be honest with you. There wasn't a lot of players cracking the Edmonton Oilers at that time, and East Coast Hockey League at that time wasn't a great league. Now it's a really good hockey league. It's a really good developmental league, and they offered me a contract to go to the East Coast League, and I just said no. I'm going to take my scholarship money from the WHL and go to school. And I went to Acadia University for 4 years till 1994.
You played over 240 games in the Western Hockey League. Just curious to know when you realized, you know what, I love this so much, I want to work in it as well.
Well, we played when I came to the Western Hockey League in '86. You look at some of the players that were around, like Hall of Famers. Joe Sakic was in Swift Current. Trevor Linden was in Medicine Hat. They had 5 first rounders. They won 2 Memorial Cups at that time. Theron Fleury, Mike Keane, Kelly Bookberger were all in Moose Jaw. And the list goes on and on. Saskatoon, PA were monsters of teams playing in their small little rinks. And the hockey back then was a little bit different now. Every team had 3 or 4 legitimate tough guys. And there was a lot of hooking and holding and interference back then compared to now.
I can imagine. So you must have been playing teams like the New West Bruins and Ernie Punch McLean, right?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I got traded to New West the last year the Bruins had a team. I got traded. Punch was gone at that time, but we came. I got traded my late second year, and I got traded to New West, and we were only here for 3 months, and then the team moved over to Tri Cities.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm just curious to know, like with coaching today, is your coaching approach rooted in what you learned from playing in the Western Hockey League?
Yeah, you know what? At the start, when I first started coaching in 1995, all we knew was the kind of coaches that we had back in the WHL and our university days. And it was really rooted back then. And that was a long time ago when I first started coaching. But, over time, things have changed drastically as anybody that's involved in hockey and coaching and dealing with kids. It's such a drastic change compared to where we came from in the mid 80s to early 90s, where you know the coaching is just so much different. It's so much more tactical, technical. It's you have to be able to communicate with these guys at their level, whether it's 8 years old or 15 years old or 17 years old. It doesn't matter. You have to be able to get down and communicate with them at their level. And things that happened in the 90s and the late 80s, those things just don't happen anymore, as far as how coaches treat their players.
I just did an interview with your counterpart, Graham Thomas, a couple of weeks back, talking about the female program. So, what can you tell me from the male perspective about the UBC hockey team?
Well, the UBC hockey team, I spent 12 years over there as a coach, and I loved my time there. And one of the things that really separates UBC from a lot of the schools, it's really difficult to get into UBC. Like, you can't just get into UBC with a 65 average. You got to be an honor student coming out of high school, and to ask that for a kid that's coming out of the Western Hockey League or the Q or the O, it's really difficult, right? So recruiting and finding the right kind of players for the male is really difficult. For the females, their top aspirations is to play university hockey. For the males, they obviously want to play in the NHL. And when that dream doesn't come to reality, their next step is probably, to go to university. And when you're in a Western Hockey League, your goal is to play in the WHL, NHL, not to go to university. So it's really difficult to get these guys that are 21 years old to go back to high school and upgrade grade 12 geography or grade 12 math. But, to their credit, a lot of the players did. A lot of the local guys from the Vancouver, BC area stayed back and, they upgraded. And, we had some good years at UBC, and I was really proud of the fact that a lot of those players still stay in touch with me and are very successful now.
I got to back up just a little bit. So you had talked about, males not necessarily wanting to play university, but to go to the NHL instead, and how females, their top goal was to play in the universities. But now you've got the PWHL. So, talk to me about the PWHL. Are you surprised about how successful it's been? What do you think it's going to do for a team like Vancouver to have one here, in BC?
Well, to take it even step further back, and female hockey has grown in the province of BC every year for the last 10 years. It's incredible. We at the Richmond Ravens, we got the third biggest organization for females, and we're at 320 girls last year, right? 5 years ago, we were at 240, 250. So you can tell we're growing 15 girls every year. And we're sending these girls out to various academies and zone teams and colleges. And so this is going to be growing up, as far as we're going to go from 320 to 400. And so will other associations like Surrey, Vancouver, and so on, because now the girls really have something to look forward to. Their aspirations now should be to try to get a contract to go play professional hockey. And that dream could become a reality for these girls now. And instead of saying, oh, I just want to go to UBC, which is great, now they have the aspirations to be a professional hockey player and make a living playing professional hockey, whether it's in Europe or in the PW in North America.
Are you surprised at all with how successful the league's, been, and the outpouring of emotion with Vancouver announcing a team?
No, not at all. Because female hockey, female sports in general is massive, right? And it's just a matter of time before the girls are finally getting their due. And whether it's in basketball or hockey now, female hockey is trending. You see it in the NCAA. It's huge. They get great crowds. The hockey itself is fantastic. These girls can play. And this is something that they've spent all their life preparing for this moment, just like the boys have when they go up to the NHL draft or the WHL draft. Like this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for them, and I'm glad that they have these aspirations to become pro hockey, and it gives them really something to look forward to. When they're 21, 22, after they're done their college career, that they can make a living being a professional athlete as a female.
One of the questions I was really excited to ask you, and I'll ask you it now, was with all the experience you've got playing and coaching hockey as well as the other things that you've done in the sport, is success truly all about what shows up on the scoreboard, or is it more about how you improve, how you take each day and kind of get to the next level?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you said it right there. Um, Too many people uh, are focused on stats, and really, because what happens is, and I've seen this, being involved in hockey for 30 years, both male and female, it's the steady improvement year by year, day by day, month by month, that at the end, those are the ones that continuously strive to get better and are not happy where they're at. Those are the ones that at the end of the day get some success. And I think that's kind of what it is. You have to get better, you have to improve. And it's not about scoring 6 goals in a weekend. Uh, don't get me wrong, those are nice attributes to have, right? But that's just part of the game. That's just a small part of the game. There's so many different players that have roles on each teams, and the coaches and the managers, assistant coaches, they're all looking for different kind of roles, not just people that score goals, not just people that put up points. You have to be able to continuously get better and improve, and that's the most important thing.
I want to talk to you a little bit about Dragicevic hockey development, DHD, because it was something that you started to work with players at all stages. What's that like? And have you seen an increase in the number of females that you've been working with too?
Yeah, absolutely. We started this about 8 years ago, and we just do skills. We have a great group of coaches. Some of them that I've worked with, and now they're coaches with us in the spring and in the summer and throughout the winter. And we work on tons on individual skills. We have small group sessions, we have big group sessions, and we have defense and forwards, and we work on individual needs. And the females come because for them the registration is going up and up because there's more girls playing hockey, right? And we mix the boys and girls together, and the girls actually love it. They love it. They want to compete against the boys. They want to show them up, and I love putting the girls against the boys because the boys get sweating, and the girls, they just want to beat the boys in every race and every battle. So you know what? It's great competition, and it's great for boys and girls.
What's the most important thing young players and their families need to understand when it comes to long-term development?
Yeah, patience, because everyone develops at a different time. And just because you're a superstar at age 9 doesn't mean you're going to be a superstar at 15, and vice versa. You might be a superstar at 15, doesn't mean you're going to be a superstar at 20. It's just continuous growth, it's continuous development. It's what you do off the ice, it's what you do training, eating. Do you have a mental coach? How much extra time are you going to the lacrosse box to shoot pucks and doing sprints? Those are certain things that all factor in the player's development, and nothing happens overnight. It just doesn't, because there might be a female that's going to be 23 and just graduating from UBC, and she might get drafted next year into the pro league. It just, there's no set time, there's no set standard, and you're never out of it until you tell yourself, "Hey, I'm done. I'm going to retire." So there's always that, that fire's always got to be burning at the end.
We've talked a lot about how the female game has come a long way. I want to ask you this question too. It's not necessarily about the female game, but just training in general. When you were a player, let's talk about the training you had to do then compared to some of the training that players do now, like you said, with food, nutrition, going to the gym, because I know it's different.
Well, back then when we had our physical fitness, I remember I went to the Oilers camp in 1990. We did a VO2 max. We did pull-ups, we did chin-ups, and we did a bench press. And I think those are the only four that we did. Uh, and now it's a lot more elaborate. Everything is, the technology into just bone density, the speed, the quickness, everything that's on the ice. It's so elaborate right now that you could pinpoint to every detail in a player's body what they need to improve on and what they need to do. And back then is, hey, you can do 50 sit-ups, you can do 50 push-ups, you got a grade A, awesome. You know what I mean? It's not like that now. It's so elaborate and it's very specific now compared to what it was many years ago. And that's why so many of these players, male and females, they're in group coaching now as far as off ice and doing their mechanics and working out properly to make sure that they're in peak physical condition.
You've played a big role in female development in Richmond with the Richmond Ravens as their program director. What's drawn you to that side of the game?
Well, we started this. I did the boys for a long time, and I still do the boys. And I just think that the girls, when we first started, you could just say like many years ago, and I've been with them now for I think 15, 16 years with the girls program here in Richmond, and it's just developed into so much little more details now. The girls, we do, we go to slap shot alley and take shots, and we got specific power skating. We got specific shooting coaches bring them out there. We got specific coaches to do D drills. Just teaching the girls various aspects of various coaching techniques that they could bring to the games. And I love the fact that the girls, they just want to learn so much. They want to soak it up and they want to compete so hard. And I think that's just what draws me to them. And it's just continuous effort all the time.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but for males growing up, they had coaches, goalie coaches, defensive coaches, offensive coaches, whereas the females were kind of always an afterthought, just kind of had maybe one or two coaches who kind of did everything. Is that true? And is it kind of shifting now?
100%. It was true, 5, 6 years ago, it was true. Now it's a complete shift. It's just, I would say that the girls get just as much as the boys do. And I'm very close to a lot of the boys' associations in the Vancouver area, and I know what they do. And I would say what we do here with the Ravens and other female associations do just as much, if not more, than some of the boys' associations. And that's not to discredit anybody at all because everyone's working hard to develop their players and their associations. I just feel that the females are really taking a nice turn in all of the Lower Mainland and in BC especially.
You've coached both genders. I love asking this question to people that have, because there are differences, but there's also some similarities. What are they when it comes to coaching a male compared to coaching a female?
Well, you know, the male, they like to go 100 miles an hour. It doesn't matter what age. They're going to go 100 miles an hour and they're going to do their drills 100 miles an hour. Whether it's right or wrong, they're going to do it 100 miles an hour. The girls like to take their time and they like to do it a little bit more correctly. And they want to make sure that it's done right. And this is just a general statement. That's not to say to paint everybody in the same brush, but the boys, it always seems like it's a race for everything. You know what I mean? And it's always a competition. It's a race to get down the ice. The girls, not so much. What I find is that they want to do the drills a little bit more correctly. And I can tell you with the girls, there's a lot less shooting after the whistle is blown than with the boys.
It's funny you say that because every single coach I've talked to has said the exact same thing, how the girls are so much more technical. They want to take their time, they want to do it right, whereas the guys, they just want to run through it and hope they get it right.
Yeah, that's right. And you know what? At the end of the day, boys want to be competitive, and it is what it is. And when the boys start turning 14 and they're allowed to hit, it's they want to get that puck, they want to keep that puck, and they want to be the aggressor, obviously.
I have to ask you this. I got two more for you. I need to talk to you about what it was like coaching the Vancouver Giants, what it was like being a part of that organization.
Well, at that time, we were an expansion team. We played out of the Pacific Coliseum, and it was a great experience. We had Pat Quinn was a great sounding board. We had Gordie Howe was in there, and it was just a great experience. With the Giants and just that whole atmosphere of bringing back junior hockey to Vancouver. And as a coach, you learn so much, and I still talk to some of the coaches that were with me Scott Bonner was the general manager. Ron Toigo was the owner, and I still talk to those guys, and we still stay in touch. I see them at the rinks all the time, and it really developed me into a coach, and you learn certain things on how to do things and what not to do, and I wish I would have done that differently, or I wish I could have done that better. But it makes you a better coach right down the road, and that's what it's all about. But the people in Vancouver, I still go to a hockey rink, and people come up to me and say, "Hey, you're the first Giants coach," and yeah, I guess that's an old trivia question. That'll be down the road, whoever was the first Giants coach. But it's a pretty cool experience, and I wish the Giants nothing but success. And I've coached a lot of their players over the years. With the boys growing up and spring hockey and so on, and so uh, they've had a lot of success, and I wish them nothing but continued success in the future.
I lied. I got two more now. I promise these are the last two. Just you brought up a buzzword for me, the Pacific Coliseum.
Yeah.
It's back in action now. How exciting is it going to be to have hockey back in that building?
Well, what memories, right? Like, people, I guess before the new rink downtown, people went over there at Coliseum, and they were, what were they? Concerts, the Canucks, everything, right? So people want to come back in there. The Vancouver Giants were in there for years. People want to come in there, and this is going to be the staple female hockey in there, and it's going to be fantastic. Pacific Coliseum was great. Just, I think that there's old Canuck ghosts walking around there. You know what I mean? And it's, people love that, and what a great barn to play female hockey in. If they can get 8, 10, 12, 14,000 fans for female games, that place is going to be rocking.
I couldn't agree more. The last one for you, if a young girl comes up to you and says, you know what, Milan, I think I want to play in the PWHL one day, what are you telling her?
Just to stay at it, keep working, follow your dreams, never give up, continuous improvement, go shoot pucks, go talk to your coaches, see what you can get better at. Just make sure that you're always skating, because skating is going to be the biggest thing that they look at moving forward as far as getting a scholarship, moving and progressing your career down the road. You have to be a good skater, especially if you're going to play professional female hockey. You have to be able to skate. So we put so much emphasis on skating in all our development. We want all our girls to be great skaters, because if you're a great skater, you could make up for a lot of different aspects in your game that you're short of, right? Skating just trumps all. And so we just continuously work on skating, and we just tell the girls as much as possible, work on your skating. And eventually that's what's going to get you is your skating.
Milan Dragicevic with the Richmond Minor Hockey Association, amongst other things, of course. Thank you so much for doing this. I really did appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Breakaway Coverage. I'm John Carlin-Ado. We hope you enjoyed this one. We'll be back next week with a brand new one. Enjoy your week. We'll talk to you soon.